What's up, you guys? Chet Guthrie, the Dream Poet here, coming to you all from a very, very busy thoroughfare. Yes, I am in the middle of downtown Cleveland, Tennessee, and right behind me is probably perhaps one of the most well-known monuments here in this city. You see, this monument right here was erected by the Daughters of the Confederacy, the Jefferson Davis chapter, back in 1910. Well, I imagine that people here in my fair city and people who have been here, I imagine they probably wonder why we have a monument dedicated to the soldiers of the Confederacy, both known and unknown. See, there is a very, very good story with this. As you all see, the loud cars going by, the library in the distance, and another library right over here, and Lee University. It is a bustling city. Well, you guys, all this behind me and in front of me, this all was burned down during August of 1864. You see, Confederate General Joseph Wheeler, he and his men were making their way down here to Cleveland, Tennessee from Knoxville. And they had a message for Horatio G. Gibson, the general, the colonel of the Union forces that were stationed here in Bradley County. That message was, I desire to know if you intend on compelling me to shell the town. Well, Gibson, he replied, I have no objections to your shelling of the town. On the night of August 22nd, 1864, everyone in Cleveland, Tennessee, downtown Cleveland, they evacuated the city. As a result of this, General Horatio Gibson and Joseph Wheeler, they fired back at each other. Colonel Gibson, well, with Colonel Gibson and General Joseph Wheeler, their fighting results in the burning down of Cleveland, Tennessee. Now, there are a few places that are left over from that fight. There are a few buildings that survived the burning, the raiding, the slashing. They still stand. Well, today, you guys, I will be showing you those buildings. So without further ado, let's anchor down. Our journey into the past starts with this older building right here in front of us. This building here right in front of me was constructed in 1857, and it was known as the Cleveland Messianic Women's Institute. It was essentially a woman's college. But when the war broke out in 1861, quickly as federal troops occupied Cleveland, Tennessee, this college became a hospital. It became a place where Union soldiers and at one point Confederate soldiers would take their men into the infirmaries. It almost makes me wonder how many men have actually died in this building, because this was a very, very bloody war. Also, in this video, we will be talking about the greatest amount of bloodshed in the Civil War that has been shed here in Bradley County. And that will take us up to Fort Hill Cemetery, where I have to tell you all about the two forts that were established here in Bradley County. But later on, in December of 1864, this building will go back to being a woman's college. And in 1915, it will become a series of apartments, which, as it has remained to this very day. So now, you guys, I want to take you all to the First Presbyterian Church. First Presbyterian Church was established in 1858, but the organization of First Presbyterian Church was organized in 1837. If y'all can look at the top, both those windows have been bricked over. You see, during the Civil War, this church behind me was the center of a lot of damage. Behind this painted glass in front of me, in this steeple, during the Civil War, Confederate troops, they stored their livestock in this steeple. And during the Civil War as well, in this church is where they housed their slaves. Now, if I'm not mistaken, when this church was renovated some time ago, they sealed that part off, which is totally understandable. But at the war's end, the inside of this sanctuary in this chapel was absolutely destroyed. And I have heard certain things that if you look at the walls hard enough on the outside of the steeple, you can see where some of the bullet holes were left over. Bullet holes, cannonballs. On the night of August 22nd, 1864, this place was absolutely lit up. Now we are going to stop at another location. Now this place will be quite familiar, as we have already been to it once on this channel, but it is the center of many historical, well, I don't know what the word would be, many historical controversies and fascinations. I think that'll work. We are heading back to the Julius Roth house. Alrighty, you guys, we are back here at the Julius Roth house. Julius Roth, of course, was a German immigrant who was considered to be Tennessee's richest man at the time, and considered to be the man who built Bradley County. But in the days of the Civil War, when Julius Roth was ran out of town into exile in Cincinnati, Ohio, this building was a command post for the Union Army. So yes, imagine. Inside those concrete, well, brick walls is where generals planned their next assault. And also, with all this land in front of me, see right there, big opening which used to be Whirlpool. Then we have the old Hardwick Mill right over there. See, all the land that was here, there was as many as 20,000 Union troops camped out just outside the Julius Roth house. Yes, they were waiting on General Sherman to make his way down here through Cleveland and to make his assault in Atlanta, Georgia. Now, this Union Army, this Union militia, which was, by the way, was from Indiana, they would make their way down with General Sherman and burn Atlanta to the ground. So I find it very interesting that where we're standing right now, there were as many as 20,000 Union soldiers camped out here on what is now the factory, or I should say the old factory side of Cleveland. In fact, where I'm parked at right now, this used to be the old Whirlpool building. But now we are going to make our way up to Fort Hill Cemetery, where Fort McPherson was, and Fort Sedgwood. Ugh. This monument is to perpetuate the memory of the boys in blue in the War of 1861. 65 who have lived in Bradley County was dedicated by Oviatt Post 2C CAR in 1914. Now, something I want to note before we head to these graves and we explore the history of Fort Hill Cemetery. This is one of only 3 Boys in Blue monuments. I'm not sure if that's in the entire state of Tennessee or in the entire United States, but we are at a high point currently, and that plays a major role in the reason why the Old City Cemetery was chosen to be the forts, or the site of Fort McPherson and Fort Sedgwood. Alrighty, you guys, after about 2 minutes of driving, I figured the best way to start off this story is by standing at this marker. As you can tell in this old city map, the city of Cleveland is to our right, and Fort McPherson and Fort Sedgwood were to our left. You see, August 18th of 1864, the city of Cleveland got word that General Wheeler was making his way down south here from Knoxville. The city of Cleveland, in a panic, along with Colonel Horatio Gibson, they gather together and they make 2 makeshift forts on top of the city cemetery. The reason why they choose this area is because it is the highest point in Cleveland, Tennessee at the time. It was the highest point for them to watch what was going on. And you see, not long after this, General Wheeler sends that message to Colonel Gibson, and that is when he gives him the message, do what you want. Over the course of the next 2 days, there will be a major raid between Fort Sedgwood, Fort McPherson, and General Wheeler's troops down what is today downtown Cleveland. They will fight. They will go after one another. Luckily, General Wheeler, he is repelled and pushed back. But it was at the cost of the entire city of Cleveland, Tennessee being burned to the ground. So imagine a bunch of troops from the Union Army running around, camping, watching for the upcoming battle, with their cannons raised, their guns ready, all of them camping amongst the headstones. Which leaves me with Cleveland's greatest loss of life during the Civil War. You see, there were no battles that happened here in Cleveland. Now, there were a few skirmishes, but no actual battles. But there was an incident that resulted in the deaths of over 270 Confederate soldiers. On November 4th, 1862, there was a train headed down south from Cleveland, Tennessee, through the Black Fox area. Now, this train, it will wreck. And this wreck, it will take 207 Confederate soldiers with it. With this mass amount of death, these 270 soldiers will be buried in a mass grave here in the city cemetery, presently known as Fort Hill. And this is the original marker that states that there are 270 Confederate soldiers here. It says 2 are unknown Confederate dead. Very, very sad. So, as you may all see an empty plot, there are 270 unknown soldiers buried here. And when I was doing my research to find this grave and hearing about it, I honestly thought there would be a big monument here. But there really isn't. It's really just a big, giant rectangle. But I thought I'd come out here and pay my respects anyway, because this is it is fascinating, but very sad at the same time. Now, later on, a monument will be dedicated to these men. They were from the 33rd Alabama Volunteers, and it was dedicated, looks like, on the anniversary of their deaths in 1989. You also have Alfred B. Brown, who was buried here. You also have another grave marker that lets people know that these soldiers are not forgotten, even though their names are lost to history. And then we have one for Isabella Hardwick here in the Confederate Cemetery. And this grave site kind of goes along with something we've already talked about. If y'all remember the last vlog that I did for 2021, I talked about Fort Dickerson. And I also mentioned that Dickerson was, or J. Dickerson was buried, or I should say killed, in Cleveland. Well, this is his grave marker. He was 31 years old. He was captured September 18th, 1863 off of Dalton Road, where he would later die. It's very, very sad. And I really don't know about these other monuments as well. It does look like this man was from the 1st Ohio Cavalry. Hazard. Look at that artwork too. Very, very old cemetery, and looks like with her gravesite, we've also got VP Sharp. And well, these other headstones. Now you guys, that is going to be my vlog for the day. I know I got a lot of really good feedback in the Charleston video, the locations of the Civil War for Charleston, Tennessee. I figured I would do one for Cleveland, just because it is my hometown, and I honestly feel like its story in the Civil War is becoming more and more forgotten. So you guys, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon. Always means a lot. Goes to show that y'all care. It means that y'all want to see more wonderful content. And the sun is in my eyes. So anyway, you guys, love y'all very much. Vlog over.